Welcome back. Sometimes I say we're going to do something special. I think in this case, I'm going to say we are going to talk about a specialist. So it is special. This is Soundpeats GoFree 2. So sort of like a TWS, but they would call it an open ear headphone or earphone. So instead of going inside of your ear canal like a TWS would, this one sits right on top of your ear canal, above it, not blocking it at all. And they try to pipe in the sound through this little port right there. So inside of this is a 16.2 millimeter big dynamic driver, piped, sort of straight towards your ear canal, yet allowing the environmental sounds to come into your ear canal and kind of mix with the music so you hear both at the same time. That is the gist behind GoFree 2, and this use case is very much, being able to hear some music, take some calls, but not to block out the environmental noise that you might want to hear, such as cars or people or announcements. But this is how it looks like when it's sitting in your ear. As I said, your ear canal is unobstructed. The speaker and dynamic driver are going to be slightly offset from your canal. That little port is going to try to bounce sound right into your canal. So trying to allow you to hear the environment with some high quality audio from the GoFree 2 at the same time. So very much the gist of what it is, and the special use case is, again, as I said, allowing you to kind of have an unobstructed sounds from the environment straight into your ear, but also allow you to take calls at the same time, hear some music, that kind of thing. So that's the gist of it. Again, very much a specialist device. You're not going to replace your TWS with this. This is more of a device that you would use while you're jogging or outside and you needed to hear the environment. So to be honest, these style sets have been around for a year or so, and I've mostly avoided them because I think the idea is really good, but they've been implemented in lower quality sets. So obviously this one on sale is going to be about $42. I think the retail's for about $80, but it's going to be on sale for about $43. So not exactly a cheap set, but not exactly all that expensive for what you're getting. And they are, like I said, they're essentially filling a use case of, this style set. And so in respect to that, I think they pretty much nailed it. But if you are used to IEMs, you might have a gut feeling that the bass isn't going to travel all that well through this open ear, air conduction, as they used to be called. And you'd be right. I think but to be really more precise about how it actually works and how they put a 16.2 millimeter driver with a little acoustic chamber and a port towards your ear, it essentially has bass, but it doesn't extend as far as an IEM would. Same thing on the treble. It doesn't extend into the upper treble all that much. And that's just because of how it's bouncing sound off your ear and trying to get into your canal and what's actually going to conduct between the speaker and your ear canal. And I think at both ends it tends to taper off. So I wouldn't say there's no bass. I would just say that it covers up through sub bass and then it starts to roll off. But it does sound surprisingly natural, considering the idea behind it of doing this offset speaker and trying to get it into your canal through a directional port. I think they nailed that idea. And obviously this isn't the first time they've tried it. There is I think they call it a Run Free 1, which did a very similar thing, but with the band more for jogging. So big picture, as I said, this one, is really the use case of having music and calls in an environment where you want to be aware of your surroundings, hearing cars, people, announcements, those type of things. Almost the opposite of IEMs. These are no isolation, so nothing blocking your ear canal. You have nothing in your ear blocking the canal from environmental noise. Your canal is open. This is mixing in music at the same time, so I would call it no isolation. But sound, again, number 3 is the primary use of this guy. But, I think the GoFree 2, I think really hits it's perfect in that respect of mixing in some high quality natural sounding music with the environment a little bit better than, say, the transparency modes. And I'm a huge fan of TWS with transparency modes, but it sounds a little bit artificial, whereas this is kind of more of if you're really, really concerned about environmental noise, this is a much better solution to it, whereas transparency, you're sort of at the mercy of how much your mic picks up and how much of that actually transfers in and what the mix is. So I'm a big fan of transparency mode, so I sort of got the idea of these right away, and it makes a lot of sense, and they actually work just as well as you think they would work. But I would say sound-wise, I think they are a little bit mid-centric because it rolls off on the bass, on the sub-bass, rolls off a little bit on the treble. You're sort of left with this big block of, full range sound, which sounds surprisingly natural. There's a little bit of an upper mid boost, but it's not like a Soundpeats. It does have the EQ like Soundpeats Classic, but it's not hugely bass boosted like sometimes they do. But I would say the extension at either end is kind of rolls off, like I said. The crazy part is how it covers that block really, really well, and most people aren't going to notice because there's enough balance of. There's enough bass and there's enough treble where it's going to sound balanced, and what is there sounds natural and fun. It can definitely, I wouldn't say it competes with in-ears, but it's surprisingly capable with a tuning that isn't as bass heavy as their other TWS, which is what I said. Does the LDAC help, right? So this one does LDAC codec, so very high resolution wireless audio codec. Is it clear enough to tell? And I think the answer is actually yes. I think it does, as the resolution is the most variable part on this fit, right? So depending on where this part sits near your ear canal, how it's pointed, if it's obstructed and blocking, it's really hard to tell from here, but essentially where that port is versus where your canal is, and if you poke this a little bit, it sounds a little bit different, and it may sound a little more resolute, a little less resolute, depending on where it is around your canal. So, yes, I think the LDAC does help in this case, but again, the fit is going to be a little more of your variable as opposed to, it's always sounds super high res. It won't, because depending on how it's fitting in your ear and the way it's indirectly piping music into your canal. So I do think the placement does affect the clarity and the apparent resolution. So you can poke it a little bit, but it'll naturally snap back in place and how it sits in your ear. Does it have more of an over-the-ear soundstage? I think that's yes. I think just because it actually does sit outside of your ear and it's this indirect piping into your ear, it does definitely take on more of a projected around your head soundstage. I think they actually got that quite right. Then lastly, kind of a quick spec dump. And these specs are very close to other modern Soundpeats sets. Bluetooth 5.3, it does do multi-point, so it'll connect to more than one device. 4 mics for calls, those are the profiles. The chipset, I don't know if that's actually a new chipset, or I'm not familiar with that one. Sometimes they use the Qualcomm, that one is a different one. Supported Bluetooth codecs, and this one is the important one. So LDAC, high-res audio is supported, but you also get SBC and AAC. So you always get SBC. Sometimes Soundpeats gives you AAC, sometimes they do not. In this case, they did. So this one is sort of one of the better ones where you get all three. Charging time, your earbuds about 1.5 hours. Charging case is 2 hours. Total play time, so 9 hours on the battery and the earbuds. If you charge them with the power that's in the case, you'll get a whole 35 hours out of that. So, and then on top of that, you do get the same app support and EQ support that you would get on every other Soundpeats set. So it's very similar in that respect. So that is what I got on the GoFree 2. So thank you guys again for tuning in, and I will see you next time.